Welcome to Numb Bills Fan Podcast for number 159. I am your host, David Palermo. Thank you for following along on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, Reddit, wherever you're coming from. Appreciate it. If you don't already, please subscribe to Numb Bills Fan Podcast. Get all your authentic, passionate Bills talk here with at least analytical backing. So on the line, I have Kevin Masseri. We'll get to him in 1 second. But don't forget, follow along on Grandstand Sports Network, where you can pick up Locked On Bills podcast, best Bills podcast there is, hands down. Aaron Quinn, Kevin Masseri, Eric Turner, Nate Geary, they all kill it, and they got a lot more stuff coming, so check them out. Also, don't forget, PunchdrunkSports.com has the best sports podcast in the world. If you're a little sensitive, don't listen to it. It's all real comedians out of LA. They're the real deal. Sam Tripoli, Jason Tebow, and Ari Shafir. I mean, killers, all killers. So follow them along on Punch Drunk Sports and at Punch Drunk on Twitter. Kevin Masseri is on the line. Kevin, hello.
Hi. How are you?
Good. That was really an awkward hi, but I like it. So
I wanted to switch it up.
It's okay. Hey.
I usually say, "Hey, Dave," or something. So I wanted to switch it to hi.
Hey. So, hi, Kevin. Let me set the tone here. Last podcast was number 158. If you want immediate reaction to the game, I had my little not little brother, Jamie Kreider, calling from LA. He went out to the game. Mike Smitty Smith, the regular on the podcast, joined in. And it was called Stop the Process. Bills blown out again. Come to find out what happened is, I didn't really get a chance to totally get Kevin's full take on this whole benching situation. My head was just going nuts and listening to a lot of stuff. And one thing I picked up was LaShawn McCoy and Ruben Brown, both Pitt alumni. They were not overly like, oh, this is going to be great that Peterman's starting. And, it kind of like, I was like, and I picked up on that because, Ruben Brown's like, man, I've seen him play, and there's a lot of times I screamed at him. I think he's a good kid, and McCoy's like, hey man, well, I guess we'll see what he can do. And to me, the team came out firing when Tyrod Taylor went in. It just had a spark to it. It could just be coincidence that they had plays not go to the other team, and it's weird. A few days later, that I'm sitting here like, seeing everybody make excuses for Nathan Peterman. Meanwhile, you want to do that. Tyrod's 2 out of 3 picks were also deflected up in the air. But I don't need a 5-interception breakdown from you people who Kevin brought up the point on his podcast, which I just found out. Kevin, toss it to you. You've been in lockstep, as Russ Brandon would say, lockstep. We're in lockstep with me on this whole thing over Tyrod Taylor, and I would just like you to rail for a few minutes on your thoughts about garbage time to the offensive coordinator shooting him under the bus. And then we'll move on to the next topic, which will be let Tyrod audible. So we're going to dive through all that right now. So hit it with your thoughts, Kevin. A couple days later, the dust is settled, and let's get into it.
Yeah, absolutely. So initially, you can go back that the move hasn't happened since 2006 when a team was in a playoff position with a winning record, switched their quarterback over from Jake Plummer to Jay Cutler back in 2006 was the first time that this happened. Now, guess what? Guess who the offensive coordinator was under that switch? Rick Dennison. They proceeded to go 2-3 and missed the playoffs there. So, you had a team that went 7-4, lost 2 games, and made a switch there in 2006. Rick Dennison did the same thing here, and picked Nate Peterman to go in. To me, Dave, I mean, it was just unjustified. You had 2 losses. I think you can relate it to a similar scenario in Kansas City where they've lost 4 out of 5 games. 4 out of 5. Not 1 out of 4. 4 out of 5 games, Dave, that they've lost over there in Kansas City, and they still haven't gone to their first-round pick, who they spent 2 first-round picks on in Patrick Mahomes.
Can I jump in here and then let you go on with your story? So,
sure.
My whole thing is with Nathan Peterman starting, is this the offensive coordinator's last straw? Or is it Juan Castillo? Because they hired Juan Castillo first. Remember how weird that was? They're like, oh, cool, a run game coordinator and offensive line coach. And I mean no disrespect to the coaches. Okay, so anything I say in this podcast, no disrespect. But your job as a coach is to put players in position to succeed. The point of this podcast, before I get back to Kevin, I wanted to address one thing in my app mentions on Twitter. Okay, I had a great guy tweet in. I love his tweets, and he's really a good guy, and his name is the Bills Blues. And he goes, "Weird to hear you rail on the coaches. Not judging, just know how positive you generally are. I get the frustration, but want to give McD a shot, even though I have many reservations. Here's the deal. A run game coordinator, I run my own drywall business, and I pattern it after. I use this as an example to ding to. I pattern it to somebody who's already done it, right? So what that means is if I'm the run game coordinator, the first thing I am doing is putting on the tape, and I'm seeing how these players are used. And I'm not saying that they didn't do that, but then you had to implement that and then translate that to what's worked before, because, again, you get the ego, you get the credit, you get all that stuff, and you're off to the races. Well, the problem with this coaching staff is you cannot name simply one thing that they do well. At least Rex's teams, I had an excuse with injuries. We had elite talent on the team across the board, okay? And you just had to worry about injuries. And not for nothing, it wasn't like this. At least the coaching staff had one side of the ball that's well. What do you know? We have another mediocre special teams again. So there's nothing this team does well. So to address you, Bills Blues, I love your tweets. Yes, I am usually positive, but it's not about being positive. It's about being objective. And when you see that a player cannot tailor his scheme or a coach cannot tailor his scheme to the players, like if you have a notebook, and this is what the organization has been selling, is how organized and ready for this that McDermott is. No disrespect to the man, he's not. Because there's not an answer here. You can't preach accountability to players and then continuously see, as a player, square pegs shoved into round holes. I'm sorry. That's inexcusable. And then you got to look at vets like Kyle Williams and Eric Wood in the face and tell me that you better be doing this for competitive reasons, that you're not starting Tyrod going into this next game, because it's going to look awful. And that brings me back to your point with Kansas City and Kevin, take it from here. So Kansas City's in a similar situation now, but
they still and you know what really is coordinate, what really kind of lines up that Sean McDermott models his team after Andy Reid, his real hero. Sean McDermott's an understudy of Andy Reid, and even Andy Reid has all the opportunity in the world to move away from Alex Smith, a game manager, a kind of mobile quarterback, sees the field, has some offensive weapons. Have you seen the Chiefs at 6-4? Have they choked and decided to switch their quarterback out when they have a legit prospect? This is an even different scenario where they have a legitimate prospect.
That's PTSD to Alex Smith. And the first thing I heard Andy Reid did with Alex Smith is go, look, this is your team, okay? And I don't know if this was a move to pull Tyrod to BQ, but not for nothing, the coach's ignorance really shows when there's 12 minutes left after the fourth interception. There's 12 minutes left in the second quarter, and you leave him in there. Why? That's ego. That is ego. Frankly, I love Nathan Peterman as a prospect. I was stoked when the Bills got him. I am still stoked on Nathan Peterman, but it's not his fault he got thrown to the fucking wolves.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. I think it's unfortunate. It's less about the player than it is about the decision and about the prospect. Like, look, he's a 5th round pick. He shouldn't be playing in this game. I've always said 7 losses was my number 7. By the time you hit the 7th loss, you're able to, make a decision, maybe lose a few more games, try out a quarterback, because at that point it's over. But you're in the thick of a very tight AFC race. And in a 17-year drought that you just went up on stage and claimed you didn't care about any longer and said, I've only been here for 10 months after claiming the drought when you first got hired in Sean McDermott. So you have all these things, Dave, and I just don't.
And you know what? To piggyback on your point, not to cut you off, but Sean McDermott can't say that I recognize the drought and I respect it and then come out in a press conference and say, hey, that was not my control of what happened in the past. Okay? You can't play like you understand us. This is the issue I have with Doug Marrone. Don't be coming in here like you fucking know us in this part of town. You don't. Okay? Whether you want to believe it or not, people have repeated this cycle of coaching staffs coming in and say what you want about Doug Whaley. Okay? Say what you want about Doug Whaley. We had a lot of fucking talent. A lot of talent. Okay? And they finally actually paid players good money. And they got themselves into some contract hell. I'll admit that, okay? They did. But it was really only for a few years the Bills had that contract hell reputation. People got to pump the brakes and appreciate the talent that they have at hand. Okay, Anthony Lynn should have never left the building for this guy. Never. And I mean that with all due respect, because it does not seem like there's accountability for coaches. And guess what? It doesn't look good when Mike McCoy, your number one choice for offensive coordinator, got fired from Denver. This is a mess right now. He's got a lot to prove right here.
You can make an argument that McCoy chose Denver over Buffalo at the time when, really we thought that McDermott would hitch his wheels to him, and it didn't end up happening. So, yeah, I mean, he was hitching himself to two older style offensive coordinators who had been around, and neither of them turned out to be very good. So, and then you look at coaches like Sean McVay, who has basically the Bills' old receiving core and a couple other Bills players in Nicole Roby-Coleman, and he's excelling and with a young, aggressive offensive mind with a Jared Goff who looked terrible last year. So, I mean, you got to go out and try to do something different and find tailor to your player's strengths.
It's funny you brought that up to me because I was thinking about Roby-Coleman was playing wonderful in the slot position. He was doing good. Keon Seamer, a man corner. Ronald Darby. I don't know if he's playing good football. I'm not breaking him down, but I hear his name. So, you had these guys, and now we're going to switch to some soft zone, as you said. And I said it in the beginning of the year, before and during training camp, and I might have said this, I swear to God, Kevin, to you, when they hired this guy. You're switching schematically across the board to a cover 3, essentially, right? Tom Brady is going to pick this defense apart. And there's been quarterbacks that are not even a fifth of Tom Brady picking this Bills team apart. What does that mean? You have McCown. He's a vet. What is Tom Brady going to do to you? You are destroyed. And you're coming out with run formations and not even protecting Tyrod Taylor on pass downs, and you're so obvious. I have never seen a team look this bad since Duran. This has been the worst 3-game stretch. You can't give up 135 fucking points and bench a quarterback and tell me it's on the quarterback. Get out of here with that. It's not happening. You got a lot. McDermott has a lot to prove to me. We got to see this team come out. And not for nothing, Kevin, I think the team played really, I think the team could have won if Tyrod Taylor was in with 12 minutes left in the third. I really believe that. You want to give your team a spark? That's when you put them in. Maybe even after 2, but after 4, and you keep them throughout the half, and you're worried about the future, this is a thing for the future. You just killed by happenstance, our number 1 wide receiver, and you got Sammy Watkins catching balls on screens, and you got Darius just literally picking up that center and moving him out of the way. From your podcast, what I heard. You know what was really scary to me, Kevin? On Locked On Bills, and I don't know if you listened to the podcast I had previewing this game. I said, listening to Locked On Bills preview this game, it's really kind of scary that this seems like the perfect matchup for Tyrod Taylor, a quarterback that can get yards on the ground against the best of these defensive lines. And here we go. The guy there, the host of that podcast that came on, sorry, I forgot the name of it, but he mentioned how well even mediocre quarterbacks are getting yards on these defensive ends. And you know what I mean? They're getting out of there. And I'm thinking this is a great matchup for Tyrod.
Yeah, I mean, if you're referring to Locked On Chargers, my guy Stanley over there at Locked On Chargers basically came on and broke down that, hey, we're getting crushed, and we're getting crushed in the run game in terms of receivers out of the backfield with receiving backs with LeSean McCoy and a recently brought up Travaris Cadet. You had 2 receiving options there that would have helped out. I mean, you have a quarterback back there dropping back and just looking to throw the ball no matter what. You saw that was his mindset, and no matter the pressure, no matter the schemes, no matter the changes, he was going to release the ball. And he's getting hit instead of tucking it and trying to run, or tucking it, taking a sack, tucking it, trying to break the pocket. He's just taking hits. The ball's floating in the air. He's getting picked off. I even blame him for the first one. Honestly, I thought the call was a fullback screen. Therefore, pressure is going to be on you. So I give you less reason to panic. Pressure is going to be there. You roll out to the right and you throw the ball to your fullback. You don't laser it into his face. Granted, should DeMarco have caught that ball? Sure. I believe he should.
Why are we even having this conversation? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It does not matter. Okay? And it starts right at the offensive line. Ruben Brown said it in the beginning of the year. I don't know what's going on with this offensive line. And it starts right there. And again, this podcast, to any players, if you, for some fucking reason, excuse my French, listen to this podcast, really, thank you. I'm flattered. Anybody, if the Pagulas are listening, Terry, I love you, fam, but like this process ain't working. And we got to get a guy who gets the players in best position to win. And I cannot name one spot besides safety where I could see somebody going to the Pro Bowl this year. And rip on Rex, rip on Doug Moron Marone. I mean, Frank, you could tell me Chan Gailey could have stayed here and we would have had an offense that would have kept on putting points and maybe drafted a good quarterback eventually, or I don't know. You could talk me into so many other ways, but I just see a guy that from it's not a good look when you are getting rid of that. I don't like draft talk because the Bills don't keep a guy for 10 years. They don't. It's got to be Eric Wood or Kyle Williams. They don't really keep a guy for 10 years. And it's like, what foresight is it running a business when you get rid of equity? Why? Because they don't fit your culture? Is this like an unintentional tank that I've been duped into, Kevin? Could that really be it? Because the Pagulas are very, very talkative and very adamant about drafting a quarterback every year. Bill Polian says, which not for nothing, Bill Polian is outdated. Listen to Bill Polian all you want. People got to be on the cutting edge. Imagine if this coaching staff, Kevin, to wrap on this, imagine if this coaching staff actually lets Tyrod Taylor get to the line of scrimmage and audible. Because if you're LaShawn McCoy, you're like, oh, fuck. Oh, fuck. Really, guys? And wait, this is a tight end heavy roster. Why aren't we protecting the quarterback more?
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I mean, I think the offensive line has its issues, but you bring in a guy like Vlad Ducasse, you keep a guy like Jordan Mills in the lineup. I mean, I don't know. You should have rolled with John Miller all season. I didn't see the problem there. Yeah,
a nice developing player that's very cheap, and he has chemistry with the guys there, and that was the very first sign when they were trying so hard to give Ducasse the job in training camp, and they just couldn't. Give it to him. Or something happened.
Yeah, let me talk about, the Vlad Ducasse, Andre Holmes, Ryan Davis.
Oh, go on, bud.
Patrick DeMarco scheme. I mean, you have 4 players there who you brought in to fit your scheme. You could get rid of all of them right now because it doesn't really matter, and you would have gotten a 3rd and 4th round pick. 3rd and 4th round pick there from cutting guys who just shouldn't even be on the roster. I like Ryan Davis a little bit. I think he's a fair backup defensive end. Patrick DeMarco has been fine, but I think you trade them in a heartbeat for a 3rd and 4th round pick. So if you really care about draft capital, that would have happened. But instead, you're putting these guys that are your players still on the field who still aren't productive, and you're trying to justify it by you're winning games. Well, now you're not winning games, so they have no reason to be on your team anymore. You just sacrificed a 3rd and a 4th round pick for these guys.
Yep, and again, you're changing up schematically. It's like, oh, yeah, this waffle guy coach. Oh, great defensive line coach. Really? Because I don't even think you should play with the defensive line, frankly. I think you should put all secondary out there and let them try to run the ball. Because at least they could, be like a pack of birds and form like a V towards the ball pretty fast and get in the way. Because whatever techniques is going on. Oh, wait, no, we don't have Marcel Darius to take double teams. I'm sorry. Here we go. So it's like, what is the fastest way to fill holes, Kevin? Are you like, okay, the tight end position looks set, right? Okay.
Sure.
Unless they screw that up, because it might be too much money and he's not our guy. Left tackle, if they get rid of Cordy Glenn, I'll be so pissed. He's been solid. He started the first 3 years.
He's as good as gone.
Okay.
He's absolutely as good as gone.
Why?
His salary number.
No way.
You're taking over a guy that has a $15 million salary cap implication. He's not staying on the field. He's not your guy.
Why is Groy, and at this point, why is Groy not up at the guard spot at right guard? Okay? Well, I don't care if he's a backup center. Figure it out later. Okay? Why I would sacrifice somebody else to have an extra offensive lineman. I know it sounds scary, but you guys got to figure it out.
someone doesn't like him at guard. I mean, I don't know who it is. I don't know if it's Juan Castillo or McDermott or Bean, but someone doesn't like him at guard. They should have never matched that. They should have let him go to the Rams and save the money.
Why? So I want to bring up to you as well. Dennison shot Tyrod under the bus, saying, I told him to take a risk, and he took the low read, which is true. And if you notice in this game that Tyrod went in, Tyrod didn't even look for the check down. Tyrod's like, screw it, I'll let it rip. You want to see me let it rip and be irresponsible with the ball because clearly it doesn't matter to you? I will. And I got to say, Zay Jones had a career day. He really did. I think it was the best game of his career, wasn't it?
One of them.
And those guys came to play. Those when Tyrod Taylor went on the field, they did not give up on him, man. Offensive line woes or not, I thought Tyrod Taylor came in there with a sense of urgency the entire time he was in. And if we're going to be saying how good Nathan Peterman looked at, like garbage time, Tyrod Taylor mops it up times 3. Okay? Because if he would have been in with 12 minutes left in the third, we have a game. There's a game, no doubt. And just as fast, you got to think Patriots football. It's like watching, for me, the Yankees in the 90s. It was painful as an Orioles fan. I could not count them out of it till like 5 minutes after that game was over, the TV's off, and I'm in bed cheering. Because the Yankees always found a way to come back and win it in the ninth. I did not know how. But I don't like to consider the game done till it's done. And you have a team of guys out there. The scheme's got to get straightened up. And if that means you got to put in Groy, and if Glenn could be healthy and start at left tackle, cool. He seems kind of screwed for the season, but like I would like to see Deion Dawkins at the right side. At this point, you have nothing to lose. You really don't. And I'm just really wondering how much of a priority this is to make the playoffs, because to me it is. Because it isn't, I don't care if we limp in there like the Texans, because it isn't like we're not that far off. These teams are not that good in the AFC. And it just takes finding out what you do well. And that's the thing I have a problem with is we don't have anything we do well. And I almost wonder if all these moves, that maybe it's chipped away at the focus of the team. Because we didn't maybe think about it shipping away Darius, but the game plan was already in place. They already, they're already kind of set. They're in the mindset. They hit the plane. You don't really have that, I don't know. But after that, the team has been losing. And I can't put my finger on it, but it comes down to coaches, and there's so many holes. And you can't have, like you said in your podcast, you can't have an offensive coordinator throwing the guy under the bus. And Dennison talked again Monday, and he mentioned, was it Sunday or Monday? He said something at the end of it that was like, yeah, and I support McDermott's decision. Oh, and by the way, every decision he's ever made. That to me says McDermott maybe put his finger in his chest and said, you got to figure this out. And that leads back to your opening point about Plummer and Cutler.
Yeah, absolutely. And it goes to Rick Dennison's ability to not change his scheme. All that point says, Dave, not a ton, other than he's willing to change out a quarterback because he doesn't fit his scheme. I mean, I think the proof is in the pudding. He's done it twice now in his career, to where he sits a quarterback because he's willing to see if the other quarterback can fit his scheme better. At least in Jay Cutler, you had a very talented guy behind Plummer, and Plummer's at the end of his career. That's even a little bit different to me. Here you have a 5th-round pick who still needs time to develop underneath relatively decent young quarterback who plays a different style of football. Let him go out. Look at Russell Wilson. Seattle would be 5-11. Seattle is 5-11. With Russell Wilson, they're 10-6 every single year or better.
Look, I think there's a thing that they could do. Step one. I keep teasing it. I keep digressing. Let Tyrod Taylor play. Let him play, okay? This team has gone through a lot together, and the regime has not made this well for the players. And I don't want to speak for the players, because I'm not them, and maybe I'm having too much empathy, and if they are listening, they might be like, dude, shut up. But I look at this like a league that does not care about its players. I think the Pegulas are great because, I follow their kids on Instagram, a couple of them, and it's like they're hip people. You know what I mean? They're very pleasant on the sidelines. They're like nice people. So they have a good heart and they have good intentions. And what I like about Terry Pegula is he hires these people and he lets them do their thing. And I don't think he's on the same side as me as far as, where the team is. Like, I have a lot more faith, I think, in the players, and I think a lot of the coaching staff does, and a lot of people, because the common pattern is simple things like you won't let a quarterback audible, but meanwhile you're praising Rick Dennison, and I'm thinking, what a genius move, because he's already worked with Tyrod. This should be turnkey, but anything turnkey operation on this team has not happened. You have a Pro Bowl pass rusher and defensive ends who are having a hard time rushing the passer. I mean, can we switch it up a little bit here? Can we figure this out? You as in Lorenzo Alexander, and I understand it was a 3-4, but it's just there's certain things that they could be doing, and yeah, McDermott likes to pride himself on how long it takes him to make a decision. Well, last said Shaft, we haven't been in the playoffs in 17 years, and these are not good calculated decisions that you're making.
Sure.
And
yeah, I don't know. I don't know where in life taking a long time and making really evaluating decisions is a good thing. It can be in certain instances, but at least in my world, I mean, I'm in business development and sales. We're paid. We're supposed to make really good, quick decisions, and at least the well thought out ones in a really quick fashion. So, that's one of the first things you get asked in an interview. But he's kind of praising himself on, well, it takes me forever. I look through all the notes, I watch film, I talk to all my coaches, and then I come to a decision, which is fine. But I mean, you're showing your team, you're showing them an uncertainty. I mean, you're showing them that you don't know exactly what you want. I mean, you're saying you told me you got persuaded in a day, but then you're saying you take forever to make a decision. So look, you called Tyrod Taylor your starting quarterback on Monday. Apparently you watched some magical footage that showed that Nathan Peterman the next day should be your quarterback, and then retract your statement on Monday that Tyrod Taylor is your starting quarterback. I mean, come on.
Hey, this is the one time I love Buffalo media. When you got douchebags going out there, for Doug Wheeler, we're going to get them, boys. We're going to get them, boys. And it's like, oh, my God. Welcome to Buffalo. Welcome to Buffalo, because there's going to be no internet dough. Like, dude, I am sitting there with popcorn. I am so stoked on Bill's press conferences when shit goes wrong, man. It's like you don't get better than Bill's, because these guys talk in circles, and it seems like these coaches, they try to make whatever box they can, this little PR box, which is great. Trust the process. It's so general. That's so general. That's so general. And then I'm very methodical. No, not really. Your method's not working. In your book, again, like in your book, show me where you fix this problem. And I could probably, do I have to take a day off of work, or maybe next week, Kevin? Do you want to have a fun little game where we could go, what coaches could he have hired?
What do you mean? What, offensive coordinator?
Yeah, like let's play a rewind. Me and you can make a cute little video together, or do a podcast or something on Facebook, and be like, hey, let's rewind the clock. We're bored. When the season's in the shitter, we're bored. What coaches could we have hired to fit the personnel that was on hand? Let's be real. I'm talking techniques. I'm talking along the same tree, not a zone blocking scheme, okay? Like, the trend of the league is a multiple offense. We just took a step backwards.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, there's a step backwards there. I mean, there is plenty of coaches, and really, if you're just talking offensive coordinator, I believe, because if you hire Sean McDermott, he's going to bring in his own defensive guy, and Leslie Frazier is going to run the defense, this soft freaking zone coverage that they want to run. Very Dick Duran-like, not quite as unaggressive as Dick Duran, but really you need linebackers to make this thing work. He had Preston Brown and Lorenzo Alexander missing in coverage and missing run scheme the entire game. I mean, there was just another play I saw where Milano guessed the wrong gap, Preston went in the wrong gap, and they just run up the middle for 30 yards. I mean, it's getting to be bad.
And like you said, though, and other people have said, is it's not or no, it was on John Murphy. Somebody goes, look, it's not Preston Brown's fault. He's legitimately just getting blocked. You know what I mean? It's what do you want sometimes with that position? You're going to throw a lot of shade on him. It's a position, but These guys shouldn't be in this position to start with. Does that make sense to people? That's my whole point, is it's not the players. We have all these holes now. All these holes. And I don't think that there is a system on this roster that works. You have Zay Jones that's not mentally ready for the game. You know, his mental toughness is very down. He's recovered now. And you just have this coach killing confidence across the board. I mean, to me, I can't imagine being on that team and seeing all these transactions and just like thinking, all right, guys, we're going to rally together. Like, man, I know tomorrow's Wednesday. We're doing this at 8:30 at night right now on a Tuesday. But I really hope that he starts Tyrod. And my whole point is just own it. That's it. Just own it. You made a calculated risk. It didn't work out. That's cool. But, you know, don't play any games here. Don't play any games here. This is Buffalo fans are way too smart. And you don't know what arena you entered. Because I don't see how, if it stays this negative, I don't see how you bring them back and sell tickets, because I might give mine up. And I really mean that. I might not even podcast. I'll be that pissed. Like, really that pissed. Because it's just a dog and pony shit show. And here comes somebody. We got oh man, we're having a great offseason. Why? Because you gave away something for picks? Cool. I'll take my van. I paid like $14,000 for after interest. Actually, probably $17,000, and now it's worth like $4,000. You know, like, cool. I just lost. Oh man, we got rid of Darius. He didn't fit in. Okay, I'd rather have Darius high as fuck eating nachos and speeding, doing test laps around Orchard Park and Abbott Road to 20A and coming back around with a doom buggy, okay, on a dirt bike and playing high as fuck, than having this defense that can't stop the run. Because apparently Darius must have been important to the team in that locker room, right?
At least he was in a respectable way. I don't know that he was in a character way, Dave. I don't think we can go as far as saying that. I think he definitely was in terms of his style of play and his strength, for sure. Just kind of a leader based on his skill set. You know, I've played pretty competitive sports, I should say, and you just respect someone that's really good at the sport. I mean, you just respect them. That doesn't mean you agree with them off the field. It just means you straight up respect that individual because of how good they are at the sport, and nothing else. So I just think you can go as far as saying, yeah, I don't think you lost much in terms of like raw shish kebab, but like you did lose a little bit in the terms of like just that respect factor. Like you mentioned earlier, you got to scheme against this guy. You can't leave him singled up or he will start to wreak havoc, even if he's not at his best. They lost a lot there. And I mean, Darius never gets traded if he's not making $100 million. If he was making even $50 million, he'd still be on this roster. So it is what it is.
It is, Kevin. What do you think about just letting Tyrod audible?
I don't have any problems with it. I think your quarterback should always be able to audible at any level. Freaking college. I don't care. Like, I watch mid-major football because I'm a big UB fan and whatever. Make fun of me. So I watch the MAC all the time. And what's really funny is actually UB has potentially an NFL quarterback in a couple of years and potentially a first-round wide receiver. They actually have Jadeveon Clowney's cousin who goes to UB. Who is a receiver. But anyways, even guys at that level, mid-major college, should be able to call audibles. You should be able to call it. You should be able to check out of runs. You should be able to see blitzes. You should be able to have zone beaters, man beaters. You should be able to have it all. You should be able to call, up the middle runs, quarterback runs. You should be able to call screen passes. I think at any level. I don't care if it's Tyrod Taylor or Blake Bortles.
I agree, and the kid is a backup quarterback. How many times we hear that the backup quarterback, Tyrod Taylor, any backup quarterback is usually one of the smartest guys on the team. He's been a consummate professional this whole time. I really hope he starts, and I hope the Bills make the playoffs. And it's really hard as a fan when you feel like so disrespected. I mean, the only reason that you had Building the Herd podcast. I got this thing going on at the same time. And the reason we got into podcasting is to spread a message that, like, hey, we have to look at this objectively. And sometimes there is a negative light to it. And I'm very passionate. So, I mean, to people out there who think I supported Rex because at least I had injuries. At least I had other things. At least he tried to figure it out and fired people.
The offense was ticking pretty strong,
right? And he fired the coordinator, and it put Pep in the step. And it's like, I mean, I just don't understand how you want to go to bat for this team, and you need players to play for you. And if you don't give a fuck about them, they're not going to play for you. And that's the bottom line. You got to have these players to play for you. And here we go, another hotshot coach that comes in from a very lucky Carolina. Like, yeah, they went crazy that one year, but this is the same franchise that we're praising for giving up Norman and not having him on the franchise cap, and their secondary suffered. Oh, well, he had to force 2 rookies to start. Well, yeah, because they gave one away. They gave a franchise player away. And what happened? You know what I mean? Like, I'm not proud of that. That's the guy running our organization. We look like the Browns right now. This is awful. You have a quarterback that probably doesn't want to play for this team anymore, that all of us fans have fallen in love with and supported, and at least I've beaten the drum for hard because, hey, to the Bills fans out there, you got what you wanted. Don't be backpedal on your statements now. Don't be making, I don't want to see tweets. Good thing they made the tweets longer, because now people can have excuses longer too, me included. And I retweeted and commented on it of a dude. I like his tweets, by the way. I forgot who he is. Pretty much listing out every interception. Screw that. If you're going to have that apology book, it's just going to take time. Okay. Is it going to take time? Because you gave E.J. Manuel no shot. You gave everybody else no shot. And E.J. Manuel shouldn't even have been drafted that high. So it's like, who are you going to trust? Are you going to trust this coaching staff for the future, Kevin? To make the picks? They got 6 games to prove to me that they could show something together. And you're not going to get Coleman up to the roster off the couch and show me that he's going to be able to play defensive tackle with an impact. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yep, I definitely do, Dave. I'm with you, 110%. I want to see a lot out of the 6 games. I want to see at least a 3-3 record, to be honest. I want to see you be able to go to 8-8. You have the record, or you have the teams to be able to do so. You're going to drop 2 New England games. You're going to beat Indianapolis. I mean, you have Kansas City and 2 Miami games for me. I mean, I need you to go 2-1 there. I need to see that your team's able to play for you.
Yeah.
I want an 8-8 record. I mean, everyone's saying, well, I want just 8 straight losses. I just don't think that does anything for you. I know people are like, well, I want to pick 8th overall. Like, great, I'm glad you do. I'd rather go 8-8.
Guys, they just got to, buddy, they just got to let the players play. You know what I mean? They got to really, the coaching staff really
just micromanage the quarterback position. I don't need you to tell players to go out and lose.
Can we at least, here's the thing is, and I'll wrap up with this and let you hit it. I let the media went nuts over Fred Jackson and Spiller. It was Fred's turn. And that's a coaching staff where, in hindsight, Chan Gailey had a productive offense every year he was in the league pretty much with any roster he had. Okay, so we've seen an extreme genius offensive coach schematically. I mean, Donald Jones calls him an offensive genius, and I'll believe Donald Jones over Bills Mafia fan board member XX5. Okay, so I look at it like you can put players in a position to succeed.
Yeah, look at Chan. You're right, Chan Gailey. Real quickly on Chan Gailey, he took 2 undrafted free agents and a 7th-round pick in Steve Johnson, Donald Jones, and David Nelson, and made them a really good receiving core. You spent a 7th-round pick on 3 players.
But here's the thing: is why isn't Dennison getting the same heat? I guess, you know what? Now we're part of media officially if we're credentialed. So I guess, hey, we're technically respected media for a Grandstand Sports Network. Woohoo! Which is like fucking really, excuse my French, really sweet. But it's like, hey, media guys, why don't you ask about that? It's too late now. October was injured, but I saw a lot out of Cadet, and you guys are at practice all the time, and he would have made an impact. You guys had Calvin Benjamin in the building for the Jets. Have the kid suit up. He's in shape. He's a professional, okay? At least have the defense go away from it. How about you don't have Tolbert in? Oh, well, why was he in? Well, it was part of the rotation. He was from Dennison's mouth. Part of the rotation, huh? So we have a Hall of Famer in the backfield that, what's the specialty? Make him miss. What do you got to do? Get the ball in space. What are we going to do? Probably like 6 screens over like 8 games. Okay. That shows me that you know your personnel. No. The beef I have with coaches is ego. And it took me like at least 22 games to get annoyed with Doug Marrone. Really, it did. And here I am wishing we had Doug Marrone. You know what I mean? Like, it's crazy. I never thought I'd be here right now because, man, maybe Doug Whaley was an asshole to work with. Man, maybe they should have drafted Sammy Watkins. Man, maybe it really was crazy to draft EJ Manuel. Man, maybe Nathaniel Hackett thought he was having Fitzpatrick here, and they just get rid of him. Right? Like, it sounds like we don't have cohesion. We have cohesion between the front office and the coaching staff of just sucking right now. That's the only cohesion we have. Really, it's kind of hilarious and depressing.
Sure, absolutely, Dave. I think that's a really good thing to leave with. I mean, absolutely, we could go through next week and talk about potential things we could have done differently in the offseason, but right now, it's as bad as a 3-game stretch as possible. You're talking about October 31st, a Halloween Day trade where you're bringing in one of your weakest points. You're bringing in a new receiver to shore up your biggest weakness. 5-2, a beatable Jets team. Everything's roaring to just the worst 3-game stretch in the history. What a bizarre year.
Exactly. Kevin, where can we find you? What's up on Locked On Bills? I know you just podcasted, so let us know what's up.
Absolutely. As always, at Kevin Nasseri. Most of you now that listen know where to find me. And other than that, what am I working on? Same old, coming up with great takes and studying the sport and going live 2 or 3 times a week.
Kevin, thank you. That's KevinMassare, as you see in the title, on Twitter or in the description somewhere. So, Kevin, thanks again, man. Don't forget, everybody, GrandstandSportsNetwork.com and PunchDrunkSports.com. If you want to know about them, you've listened to us before. If not, check them out. So, toodaloo, and goodbye, folks.